So I was thinking back to when I first saw a mosaic crochet project, and I was like, wow, amazing. And how do we do that? Is this also crochet? How is this also crochet? And without watching a tutorial on how, or seeing a written pattern, or that there are graphs, I was thinking color changes. So it was like, do we carry a floater behind us? Do we crochet over our colors and take them with us throughout the whole project? But no, it wasn't anything like that. It's just the humble single crochet, double crochet. You work in a back loop or you work in a front loop. And of course, as crochet magically shows us all the time, there's also so much more. Hello crochet friends, this is G Crochet Off the Hook. I'm G, here sharing today my mosaic crochet adventures. And having a look back on my Instagram and Facebook, which I only started around 2019, I came across what I believe is my first mosaic crochet project. If I did find a picture, if I remember to insert it, I shall. And my very first mosaic crochet project was a beanie, and it was with a tutorial from MJ's Off the Hook. And to my surprise, there was no color changing as such. It was using two colors, keeping them attached at all times. And I started off mosaic crocheting that beanie in the round. So I was rather fascinated that we could achieve these color changes and texture just placing our stitches in a new way. So that was February 2022. And then November of that same year, 2022, MJ's Off the Hook also had some mosaic Christmas ornaments. And again, with the help of her tutorials, these were quite a treat, quick and easy projects to work up. And I was like ticking that box for myself, wow, you can do mosaic crochet. And that was it for Mosaic Crossing My Path in 2022. It only reappeared again around about October 2023, where I attempted to and did complete a Springbok mosaic coaster for the Rugby World Cup. And then things go quiet again until the middle of 2024, when I had this gorgeous Kismet Melange Aran weight yarn, and it just needed something really special in the lines of a pattern to work with this yarn. And I don't have the ball with me, and it is the same yarn that I used to make hubby's jersey when I started YouTube in January this year. It's that same Aran weight yarn. So I was looking around like one does, and I was on Ravelry, and I found a pattern for a cowl, a mosaic cowl. And in my head I was going, great. I started off mosaic crochet, doing it in the round with a beanie. So even though there was no tutorial, let me dive into reading like I do with many blanket patterns, just taking one section at a time and working this cowl. So the very first large project, I would say, and on my own that I made was this cowl. It's called Athena's Neck Warmer by Hooks and Paws, and unfortunately it is no longer available. I did go on to Ravelry and try to see if I could find the pattern. But I was very chuffed at just taking it slow and working the pattern as it was written. I was able to crochet a completed wearable mosaic project. And again, as I had become accustomed to, you just start with a chain in, say, color A. You also crochet a single crochet row, and of course remember now I'm working in the round, so you crochet a single crochet in the back loop for the second round, attach your new color like we do with many projects, and off we went. It was just following the pattern, single crochets in the back loop, double crochets in the front loop of the same color, next round up. And the amazing thing that happens with mosaic crochet, this particular mosaic crochet, is reversing it, you get these gorgeous stripes. Now, remembering that this is all I know at this stage of mosaic crochet, is crocheting it in the round, smallish projects. Even the cowl was a small project. And I'm going to attempt to show you. You see, there was none of this worrying about ends at this stage of the program for me with mosaic crochet. And I think you can see there is the join line on the inside at the back. But it was so minimal, and it sort of just blends in, really. There we can see it. So I was, by this stage, super chuffed that I could do mosaic crochet. I love the texture that you get from the double crochet. I love the patterns that you could make. Hubby always says it reminds him of South America and the Aztec, and different symbols and all the geo patterns that you can make using mosaic crochet. So we had a taste of it 2022, we had a very minimal taste of it 2023, and in 2024 I was able to complete a cowl, which made me very happy. But of course that also meant that I wanted to know more, and that's where I'm glad I do, but for me it was actually very daunting in the beginning, to say the least, because like with most things, even learning to do something as simple as a double crochet, you will master a double crochet. You'll learn, if you're starting a project, you chain 3, it will represent your double crochet. Then they'll teach you how to do a standing double crochet, or like I do with a lot of my projects, is a faux double crochet. So you know what I'm getting at is, in crochet, once you know one little something, there's bound to be a lot more that goes with it. And as I completed this, started it in June, I think, from what I can see of my photographs, I think I finished it in June. I started to go over more and more mosaic tutorials, and I did also start gathering patterns. And at this moment in time, as far as I'm aware, and I might not be up to speed, but there are 2 different types of mosaic crochet. There's overlay mosaic crochet and interlocking Mosaic Crochet. So just a very quick rundown, which I'm going to read so that I hopefully make more sense, is that overlay Mosaic Crochet, this is where you use one color per row with colors changing every row. The stitches you use are single crochet back loop and double crochet into the front loop of the same color 2 rows below. You begin your project with a single crochet and you end your project. The whole project, yes, but your specific row. You started with a single crochet and you ended with a single crochet. It's worked, and that specific single crochet is usually worked into both loops. Everything else into back loops. The appearance of the project is that the pattern appears on one side, the front side of your project, and the back side has a striped effect, which this one shows quite clearly, is your pattern on the front and your striped effect on the back. This is the overlay Mosaic Crochet when you're working a flat project or in the round. Typically, you begin your project crocheting a long chain and then you work a single crochet into that chain. This is with a flat piece. You will start every row on your right or left hand side, but you will start it afresh. You will get to the other end and you will snip your yarn after you have done that row. And then whether it's the same color or your new color, you will come back to your beginning point with the right side of your work always facing you, reattach your yarn, and then work your pattern according to what it says. And once you get to the end of that row again, you will snip your yarn, starting and ending with a single crochet in both loops, and then following the pattern of either crocheting a single crochet in the back loop and your double crochets in the front loop of the same color 2 rows below. And it would just end right there, but as I've come to find out, every designer has their own ways of presenting that to you in a project. So, and there are also designers who, for their particular mosaic overlay projects, you can also start with a foundation single crochet row, or you can start with what is called a long foundation start, which is where you start off with a very long tail and you use that tail with your working yarn that's attached to your skein, and you crochet a long foundation start. And as I said, typically you fasten off and you rejoin each row, and the right side of your project is always facing you. Sounds marvelous, and if I only knew that, that is all I would know, just like I thought Mosaic Crochet was that beanie that I did in 2022. There was no starting and ending and snipping off of the yarn. Then you also have interlocking mosaic. Now here you use 2 colors as well, but you use each color for 2 rows. So there is no stopping and starting of your yarn color. You will usually have your 2 starting tails at the beginning of a project, and depending if you're adding or not a skein in between your project, you will also end with 2 ends to weave in at the end. So your interlocking mosaic crochet uses 2 rows of the same color before you switch to the next color, which makes sense because you will start with your blue, work it all the way to the end, turn your work around, work that same blue color back to where you started, join your new color and do the same with that new color. You would then work that all the way to the end of your row, turn your work around and work that same color back to the side where you started. And those colors will just be carried up along your project as you go. Your stitches are normally in both loops, and you create chains that you skip stitches below for. And on the wrong side of your work, so when you're bringing that color back to where you started it from, you repeat exactly what you did in the first row. So you'll end up having a piece that has got your crochet work, skipped stitches, chains in place of the skipped stitches, and you're doing 2 rows of each color. The pattern is created by working double crochets then into the skipped stitches of the same color the row below, and the same is repeated on the wrong side. The appearance of an interlocking mosaic project is that your wrong side and your right side mirror each other. In this process, the yarn is carried up the side of your work. It's not fastened off and rejoined, resulting in fewer ends to weave in. And as I have found out, even though I would prefer fewer ends to weave in, I'm saying it here already, I do not specifically enjoy interlocking mosaic crochet. In fact, I've never got further with interlocking mosaic crochet than the samples that I have done. And I don't know if it's because I feel like I'm doing double the work, even though you have a mirrored effect with interlocking crochet. But as I said, magically in crochet there are always new things that you get to learn. With the overlay mosaic crochet, the one where you're always stopping and starting with your rows, leaving many ends on both sides of your project, there is also a way that you do not have to weave in any of those ends by creating what is called an envelope border. So that's just throwing in what that is, that you can all read about, I know, on your own. But this is the result of some of my samples, trying to figure out overlay mosaic crochet and interlocking mosaic crochet. So this was all done towards the end of 2024. And the very first pattern that I had, which says that it's a mosaic overlay crochet pattern, and I knew what overlay was. It is a pattern on Ravelry. It was, this is just samples that I was doing. It did say it was part of a mosaic cowl from 2022. But I'm only finding it in 2024, and it was heading up to Christmas time, and I thought it would be really awesome to try to do perhaps a wall hanging out of mosaic crochet. We didn't get there, spoiler alert, but I did complete this particular portion of what was originally a cowl. And it was called the Mosaic Christmas Cowl, hosted by Mosaic Crochet Malls and Cowls, and it is a Carol Ann Creates Country Church Mosaic Overlay crochet pattern. So, and this was found on Ravelry. and it did have a graph, but it also does have the written instructions. And I found that I was able to, with having done the previous Mosaic crochet, I was able to follow the written pattern along with the graph, and I created the country church. Now this is just a sample piece. I used a 4mm crochet hook and some DK acrylic yarn in a navy blue and sort of a caramel, and that's the front side, and of course the back side striping. And yes, because it was a sample piece, there are obviously always many things that you would have perhaps wanted to do differently, and especially wanting it to be a wall hanging, there are many things I would have done differently. So I didn't make it a wall hanging. I just learned from what I could from doing the sample piece, and later on, out of my own, when I was learning about this enveloping your ends in, I did come back and just it's very dark in here. We have the craziest weather. We had 2 days ago, we had 34 degrees Celsius. The next day we had 19 degrees Celsius. Yesterday we had 27 again, and today we've got 20, with this crazy wind, with cold weather, cloudy skies. I don't know, everything in life just seems a little bit topsy-turvy at the moment, including the weather. So anyway, so I did go back and made a little, well, I enveloped all the ends in on this one. So that was one that I'm not sure if this one is available. As I say, I did get this from Ravelry. It's Carol Ann Creates the Country Church Mosaic Overlay. I don't know if it's showing up there. So yay me, I did another mosaic, I don't know where to put stuff. So, and that was getting to read the pattern and work with the graph, and it was following everything else I knew about how to start with your chain, back loop, single crochet. I was doing both starting and ending in both loops with a single crochet, and later on, having learned to envelope the ends, I went back to that project and sort of just fudged myself an envelope. Then, of course, as you go, you continue looking at new patterns and new things that are coming out. And, of course, yes, I was leading up wanting to do a blanket or something with mosaic crochet. I wasn't feeling it. And I must admit, that was my first time, having done all the other projects in the round. I didn't know how I was feeling about working the pattern and snipping that yarn at the end. You know, you always feared, is there a mistake? When am I going to pick it up? What do I do if I haven't left a long enough tail? You know, all those things go through your head. Then also around the end of 2024 last year, I came across a mosaic island sample. And this was by a different YouTuber. This was by Tina, and I'm not going to attempt to say her. My little tag says there. She's on YouTube. She's also fabulous, energetic, wonderful lady with many mosaic blankets and tutorials and samples and all the rest of it. And this particular island sample is part of a blanket pattern that she has. And immediately, squirrel, I saw that here she was using overlay mosaic crochet, but she was also doing fillers in between the mosaic crochet, which scrap sample again, so the colors might not make any sense. But this is what this one was. So the sample. And I was drawn to one, she was doing the envelope, and I wanted to know how to do that. But this particular blanket, you have some mosaic crocheting, and then you have just your normal crocheting, back to the mosaic, and then more normal crocheting and ending with mosaic crochet. And I really loved the way that was integrated, because here was something new again on how to do the mosaic crochet. And of course the back looks stripy, which is also really cool about overlay mosaic crochet. So I did this sample with her, learning all the time, learned to do the way she does her envelope border. She has this unique way. What did we do here? This was end of last year. She slip stitches. She creates a slip stitch all the way around the project towards the end, and then you work into the front loop for the front side. You're basically doing the border twice. You're doing the front, you pick up the loops from the other side, you do the back. You crochet your border however thick you're going to have it, and then you'll end up crocheting those two pieces together. And yes, all those wonderful ends that we might have worried about weaving in are all tucked in wonderfully in the little envelope. So that was also in 2024. And then, good Lord, I wish I had stopped there, but I didn't. Because as you do when you find somebody interesting and they're showing you something new, you want to know all the things. And she also has a tutorial, and I did this, I've got here, December 2024. This was a different YouTuber. This was by Biba Blanket. And there was a tutorial for a two-sided overlay mosaic. So again, overlay, not interlocking, but it was two-sided. Oh, bless me. Sneezing as a cold draft comes through here. So the two-sided mosaic, overlay mosaic, is you are able to get yourself a mirrored image. So initially I said it does tell you that interlocking mosaic crochet gives you a two-sided mirrored effect, but in overlay mosaic crochet that is also possible. And I did the little sample that Biba Blanket did on hers. So you had that, and you had that. So you were basically getting the two colors that you were working on mirrored, with color A and color B showing on each side. And yes, this is how your project usually looks with overlay mosaic crochet. And I've seen so many other things. People make fringes, they do the twirly thing even with machinery, you know, those little screwdriver things. And okay, we're not going down that rabbit hole. There is so much. There's so much. And then of course I did a second little sample piece for myself. This is the two-sided overlay mosaic with Biba Blanket. It's a tutorial, and there you can see the color on that side. And again, I'm pretty sure she had a different way of doing an envelope border. So I did, that was the initial sample piece where you can see how you start and you stop and you have all these little tails. And as I say, this doesn't have to be daunting. There is a way that you tie it off. Some people braid it, some people make little twirlies with it, all the rest of it. you can have your project like that. You can also sew in all your ends, or you can have yourself a border. The envelope border, because we're enveloping all those ends inside, and still I wish I had ended there, but I did not. I was then, as you do, hunting around on Yarnspiration for some mosaic patterns. This is also still all December 2024. And boy, did I start coming across many patterns for, now, watch it, because I did not specifically read properly, if I can put it that way. I was just searching for mosaic blanket patterns, because actually I was now starting to, you know what, if I found the right baby size blanket, perhaps this cutting of the ends and the envelope border, perhaps, you know, but something simple. I wanted something simple, not too complicated. And you usually find such a wonderful variety on Yarnspiration. So that's what I was doing. That's where I was looking. And I came across, I told you it was December 2024. So of course I was drawn towards a Christmas tree mosaic blanket. Hear me out again. I'm saying mosaic blanket because somebody had no idea that you had interlocking mosaic crochet. I'm just thinking there's mosaic crochet, overlay mosaic crochet. So there is on Yarnspiration, this is called the evergreen mosaic blanket. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I thought, yes, okay, I'd have me some of that. I also found a mosaic ombre blanket, and of course this was giving me the those vibes of just geo patterns and what have you. So that's that one. Looked really interesting, and of course I've got them. So, and then of course I did find a mosaic crochet baby blanket, also from Yarnspiration. If we can see, it's and that looked you know, like that would be relatively easy. And of course, because it's Christmas time, I decided to, you know, start myself a little swatch, get into the groove of mosaic crochet, and I was going to use some scraps and try a small section of the evergreen mosaic crochet blanket. And boy, was I in for a shock. Because as I'm reading this pattern, I'm thinking to myself, we are not stopping and starting and cutting the yarn here. What is going on? So I have done the sample of the interlocking crochet. There it is. I did complete it. And you started off with your one color and you brought that color back. You added your second color. You went all the way along here. You turned around. You came back with that same color. You know, not bad for not having to weave in ends, you know, the way this whole process was working. But I think perhaps I haven't given it enough time. I was getting so confused with, so you would, you'd make your stitch, you have to chain to skip stitches below, and then, you know, I could, the instructions were fine and I could, but you're skipping one stitch and you must remember to chain 2. If you're skipping 2 stitches, you must remember to chain 3. And then, you know, when you come back, you have to remember to do all of that the same way. And I don't know, maybe my head just wasn't in it. But even though this resulted in practically no ends compared to an overlay mosaic pattern, where you're stopping and you're starting, I found this, for me, more difficult than doing the overlay mosaic crochet. So this was all happening in December 2024. Of course, I have also picked up, I think this was also from Ravelry, Iteration by Crochet with May. She has a lovely pattern. And then there was also the Lenzy Knot Overlay Mosaic Crochet pattern. Get your hook on, which is this one. You know, searched for patterns, got the patterns, printed the patterns. I have a stack of them. But I was obviously learning that I now need to check to see that a pattern either stipulates overlay mosaic crochet, and if it just says mosaic crochet, I need to check, is it overlay mosaic or interlocking mosaic, so that I could find out what it is that I actually would prefer to do. Are you guys still with me? I feel like I should have bought a leader of something in here with me, but I haven't, and I'm just going to keep marching on for right now. And I hope I'm not confusing anybody. It has been quite a journey, and it's just me, myself, and I, and my thoughts. And every time I find out or learn something new. So that brings us to 2025. And in January, like a squirrel, also when I just started YouTube, this was heading up towards Valentine's Day, I think. Or was it? It was really in the beginning of this year. MJ is off the hook. She has a beautiful blanket for this. And as part of the tutorial, she was using of the pattern from that blanket to make these gorgeous, yes, overlay mosaic coasters. These little heart coasters. I made everybody in the family these. And yes, the stripy effect at the back, fabulous. But every single one of these ends, because it's a stop and start, it's overlay, were weaved in. And I made quite a few of these coasters. And then, of course, she does also show you how to do this pretty little border over here. And because it was a small, easy project, I did find new ways for myself to immediately crochet over the tail to a certain point, so that the weaving for myself wasn't so difficult. But yes, when I've mentioned to people overlay mosaic crochet and try the little projects, not like the ornaments where there was really only those 2 ends to start and 2 ends to end off with, or the beanie that I did, or even the cowl that I did, there was none of this, the extra ends. And I guess perhaps even on a coaster project like this, you might not want to, leave the ends out and then redo this border twice to put it on for a tiny little coaster. But as I'm saying, a lot of people are saying they would then, no thank you, overlay mosaic crochet is not for me. And especially if they don't want to take the time to do the envelope border. As I already mentioned, you could use the fringe. Okay. Then our friend Jana Kay from Leave It to Stitches, or you might have first seen the Mosaic Cowl 2025 on Flourish Crochet. Anyway, go check out Leave It to Stitches. That's when we want to see Jana Kay. She is doing a beautiful Snow Flurries Mosaic Overlay Mosaic Crochet Blanket by MJ's Off the Hook. And, she started that project and she's hoping to get it finished for December. But there's no time crunch, no time rush. At the same time, encouraging anybody who has a mosaic project that they've started and they want to share progress with, go and share it over there with her. And of course, that made me click again to everything that I've just rambled on and on and on about with my mosaic journey. And I thought to myself, you know what, this to me, maybe is a sign that I actually need to commit to doing a mosaic blanket. I mean, I've done many blankets, but I have not done a mosaic blanket. So off I went again. Never mind, I have all these other patterns, right? This was in 2024, end of 2024. I need a refresher. I'm going to go and just see what's on the scene for mosaic crochet. And I went back to Biba blanket now. And that is the project that I've actually completed. Okay. So I think this is also Ravelry. Biba blanket has a modern crochet Mosaics Crochet Basics. She has this lovely little printout that you can get for yourself. She does also have some overlay mosaic Christmas mug rugs. That's right, because I was looking at Christmas things at the same time, right? And then she had a free pattern, which was just giving me that right vibe for mosaic crochet, and it's just called Mosaics, which is this. And I just thought, yes please, I like that. That is what I would like to do. And before I go any further, guys, I just want to mention that so far, and I've been through a handful, at least 5, every mosaic crochet person that I've come across have their own methods of, number one, starting a mosaic overlay project. Some people have a different way of you wanting to start, which could be doing a single crochet foundation chain, doing a chain and crocheting into the back loop of that chain, or doing a long foundation start to the project. So every time I've actually done a mosaic sample, and it's via different channels, I'm actually learning something new. And I'm going to say up front right now, I, for myself, in my projects, are sort of mixing and matching what feels comfortable to me. And I'm not specifically recommending that. I'm saying perhaps, definitely start out how they suggest their projects should be worked. But if you've been crocheting for a while, sometimes there are things that you are used to doing that just creep into a project, and you kind of make it fit, regardless of how you're being explained to do something specific. A lot of rambling for nothing. So anyway, I really wanted to do this mosaic blanket. And so far, quite a few people around me have received their blankets for this year. And my youngest was due to have a blanket, and I thought, this is beautiful. I'm going to do this blanket for her. I had this fabulous Kismet Lollipop Vesuva. It's a 400-gram ball, 700 meters, 90% acrylic, 10% polyamide. Right. And last year sometime, she had chosen herself this particular colorway, blues, and browns and greens and creams, but you know, predominantly the blues. This is a Making Everyday Mandela Day Kismet's yarn. This is a 300 gram with 555 meters in it, 100% acrylic. The colorway is silkworm, and they both Aran, yeah. And I have more of these, so I knew as the project went or grew, I would have enough of both of these to make this pattern. Right. And of course, there's a tutorial to get you going. So I thought, bonus, I have the written pattern. We have we also have a graph, because sometimes I like to just visualize where I'm heading. Then, you know, I've already been told I sound alien if I read a crochet pattern to anybody. So great. So we did it. We did it. I read this and I start the tutorial. This is not crocheted from right to left. This is not crocheted in the round. Of course, I'm going to learn something totally new, even though that's not what I was planning. This particular mosaic blanket, you start in the center and you crochet around like you would crochet a square. So this is worked from that middle section, and you go around and around, and fabulously, of course, you have the striped effect at the back. Now, you may say this does not look like a blanket. Well, people, please agree with me that this is a lap gown. Okay? This is a blanket. It is a blanket. I'm going to take it as being a blanket. I know it's not the size of a big blanket. It's definitely a size. I don't have my book with me. I did take is it one? I can't remember the size. It's regardless. This is my first completed mosaic blanket. And it was not back and forth, and it was not in the round, in the sense that it's a round shape. This was one where you started in the center and you worked your square. And by the way, I've just found out that there's a tutorial to do the mosaic crochet rectangle. I need help because I keep getting sidetracked. But anyway, my daughter absolutely loves this. What happened was, it could be stress, it could be all sorts of things. At the time, I did initially think I was having an allergic reaction to this particular acrylic yarn. Since then, I don't think it was specifically the yarn. This has been washed. I didn't even block it. It just works out perfectly square. This is definitely a lap blanket, and because I was having this reaction and I did think it was the yarn initially, I said to her, well, I didn't want to just, I still had quite a way to go. I said to her, well, I don't want to specifically just, abandon the project. I'm going to finish off where I had to finish off according to a repeat. And then I just added these bobble stitches as the border at the end. And again, people, I don't know how, but it worked out. I just spaced them without counting. I just started off and I thought, okay, I'm starting here. If I get to this end and it looks okay, that's what we'll just keep doing. And it did. I didn't have to fudge anything. It just worked. I'm so grateful for that. The blanket has been washed. I've had it with me in the craft room now for at least 2 weeks, and I haven't had a specific reaction to this yarn, so I think it was something else. And basically though, this size, and I did dip into a tiny bit of this one, but this whole blanket is basically this whole one whole skein of this, so 700 meters, and the 555 meters of this, and a wee bit more, which was basically only to finish the border and to do these bobble stitches. That's how it worked out. So isn't that fabulous? I'm so chuffed. I got the kick I needed to take part in the Mosaic COW 2025. It's whatever Mosaic project you're working on, big or small. Share it with us. I think there's much more to learn in Mosaic Crochet. And as I said, I only just a day ago found out that there's Mosaic, not square, but rectangle Mosaic projects. And it's on my to-do list when it comes to Mosaic. But people, thanks so much for sticking around with me for this long, but I ain't finished. I have been yarn shopping. Hubby got me out of the house. We went to look at some yarn because there is a specific Mosaic blanket from a different designer who also has a different way of doing things that I really, really, really wanted to make. And so I had the pattern, and it's a pricey pattern for this girl's budget, but I have it. I have it printed out. It's 60 odd pages in a little folder. I used this recycled Hubba Respect, love it, for stitch definition. I did do the little sample that she has so that I could understand the way she writes her patterns, how she starts and ends her overlay Mosaic Crochet, and fill myself in on how she approaches her border. Okay, right. And even though a day ago I found out that you can do a Mosaic overlay rectangle style, I've put it on a saved, look at that later, because I have this pattern. And of course, we don't have the yarn that everybody always talks about and what have you, so I need to make my things up as I go. And the pattern, yes, there's no secret to the pattern. I'm pretty sure everybody else has already either done it, seen it, been there. I haven't. I'm not always in the know. It's a Rosini Crochets pattern, and it is called Fairy Dust. Fairy Dust Mosaic Crochet Blanket. And from what I've seen on her, because she does have some YouTube video pointers for this blanket, yay. I'm pretty sure she's already doing a completely different Mosaic overlay blanket for this year. But I'm not there, and I'm happy that I had this one. stucked away, stashed, and I'm now going to put it to use, hopefully with some encouragement. I can do this. Anyway, so we had decided that we wanted to do, because there's different color patterns, all the rest of it. But I wanted to do something along the lines of what she calls Sprite. And it's sort of done in like these gorgeous blues. Again, since my youngest she has her lap gan, and I'm not 100% sure how. This should be bigger than a lap gan. It says there 115 to 140 centimeters. This should definitely be bigger. I am wanting to make this blanket for her. So we had to go hunting for colors. Now the colorway for Sprite here is duck egg, petrol, white, turquoise. Ain't going to happen where I am. But I did have this gorgeous duck egg, which is my Owl Yarns chick double knit in the colorway duck egg. And of course, naturally, fortunately, we do have our white. So I knew I had in my stash duck egg. We topped up on the duck egg, we topped up on the white so that I have what I need for this pattern. And then we were hit with a dilemma because they had a maritime blue, which I'd made my eldest a cowl out of a few months ago, which we loved. And I thought I would find a turquoise to go with that maritime blue. None of that was happening. We were not getting any blues, except there was a denim blue, but then there was nothing for me to mix it with. Anyway, let's wrap this up. We decided on greens. So we have the duck egg, and the main colors are going to be the duck egg and this gorgeous greeny color. It sort of has like, I can't really explain it, and I'm not sure it's going to show up, but it has a little bit of I don't know what you call it, but it's not exactly 100% solid. It sort of has like that, it has a stone washed look to it. That's what it is. Anyway, and this is called cilantro. So we have, it might not show up. Anyway, our main colors are going to be duck egg and cilantro. Maybe I'll turn them around. Anyway, peeps, you will see the colors as I make this. So that's what we settled on with this greeny color, which is called Snow Moon. So this is what we are sitting with. We have got duck egg, cilantro, and Snow Moon, and of course the white. And I think we made a pretty good choice. I'm excited. I have all the yarn. I have the sample done so that I know what's what. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be quite a challenge for me. But I want to get there. I want to do this. And we have our pattern, which is the fairy dust. Fairy dust. Oh, if I could do, if my first choice was to do the elf colorway, but it just wasn't going to happen. So that's a lot of waffling about Mosaic Crochet. And as you just found out, even a day ago, I found out there's something more to Mosaic Crochet. And for now, with my limited experience, I'm going to have to say that I am in favor of overlay Mosaic Crochet. My favorite so far is what I have completed. This Mosaics, that's what it's called, by Biba Blanket. You started with your two ends and you ended with your two ends. You got both of the best of both worlds. They were no ends to weave in. It kept me interested the whole way through. It was not complicated once you get your pattern going. Gorgeous texture. Love the pattern. Love the striping at the back. I mean, listen. Some people have seen this and they go, you know, they look at it, you know, and then they go, oh wow, yes, we like it. And I'm like, yes, that's the back side. What you know, give the front side attention. And they're like, wow, they like the back side. So far, this is my favorite. I have not yet done a complete project with the envelope border to hide all the tails. I know that I love that concept. This one that I did. You know, I know there's a lot of ends in there, but you can't see it, and they're in this envelope. So this is a big project to tackle, and I'm hoping I'm going to love it as much while I travel with these ends. I can already see them singing at me while the project grows. But that is my Mosaic Crochet adventures. And if you stuck around this long, damn girl, you better tell me that you've done some mosaic crocheting as well, because I'd love to hear about it. And if the weather holds the way it has, and since I've spilt the beans on what my colorway is for the fairy dust blanket, I am hoping to actually start that this weekend. So that's all from me for now. Although, nope, that is all from me for now. I'm going to keep all the to-do lists with Mosaic Crochet on the to-do list, and I'm going to focus on the fairy dust blanket. Hope you're all having a super weekend. Take care. Happy crocheting.